Biden's shameful gas station attack. It's hard to know where the economic illiteracy ends and the shameless demagoguery begins. President Joe Biden calls for a federal gas tax holiday as he speaks about gas prices at the White House in Washington, D.C. Hello and welcome back to my channel. Thank you all for stopping by. I do appreciate everybody supporting my work and my mission here to stand against the woke. Please remember to like, comment, share, subscribe. Make sure that you're still subscribed because YouTube does unsubscribe people every single day against their will. You know, interestingly, YouTube actually subscribes people against their will too. That happened to me. I had some subscribers who were like, what are you talking about? Why am I subscribed to your channel? I never subscribed to you. Well, I don't know why you are, but for some reason, there you are. Let's get into today's topic, which is, of course, gas prices. Let's see what Biden has to say here. Look, I have a paywall. No, I don't know what this V does. Oh, it removes that little part right there. What do you know? For Joe Biden, the buck stops with small independent business owners trying to make ends meet. Over the holiday weekend, the president slammed gas stations for the purported sin of not passing along declining oil prices to motorists. Well, oil prices are declining. Interesting. Biden took to Twitter to urge the companies running gas stations and setting prices at the pump to heed his message. Bring down the price you are charging at the pump to reflect the cost you're paying for the product. Well, you know, this is pretty common knowledge that gas stations don't make money off of the gas that they sell. They're only making 1 or 2 cents per gallon on average. And considering a gallon of gas costs $5 or $6 today, that's not much profit. That's not enough to keep the lights on. So they make money off of like hot dogs and chips and sodas and stuff like that. Yes, sir. Whatever you say, Mr. President. The United States Oil and Gas Association mockingly recommended that the intern who posted the tweet should sign up for Econ 101. But it's worse than that. Biden has hit the gas stations before on the same grounds. It's hard to know where the economic illiteracy ends and the shameless demagoguery begins. Regardless, it's another indication that the president's approach to inflation is to cast about for scapegoats and villains, no matter how implausible, right? So it's really interesting how gas was really cheap, like $2, less than $2 a gallon, and then all of a sudden, Biden comes into office, gas prices start to go up. That's an interesting coincidence. And people, I've heard people, usually those who are on the left, wanting to blame everything else. But none of the blame falls on the shoulders of Biden, who said you're going to pay more at the pump. Period. That's his whole platform is you're going to pay more at the pump. White people are evil. Why you would vote in an idiot who thinks that white people are evil just inherently, even though he is white, is beyond me. So-called jawboning or stern rhetoric directed at industries to get them to bend to the president's will is nothing new. The most famous example is from John F. Kennedy, who blasted U.S. Steel for raising prices. In 1962, JFK's track was questionable, but at least he was targeting an enormously influential industry that had breached an agreement to hold the line on price brokering by his administration. Biden, by contrast, is going after proverbial liberal gas station and Unimart down the route 134, started by an immigrant couple hoping to send their children to college for the first time. Yeah, if you think that Democrats are all about the blacks and the brownsies, no. They actually despise and detest the blacks and browns more than any other group of people in their actions, because actions speak louder than words. Now, in their words, they despise white people, especially white men the most. I mean, white men are, they're the worst things ever.
And you, sir, are worse than Hitler.
Don't you know? These small-time entrepreneurs have done nothing wrong except remain in business at a time when the president's anti-oil and anti-gas policy has backfired spectacularly. As the business newsletter The Hustler explains, the majority of owners operate a single gas station either as a branded location of a big famous company or on their own. Given that there are more than 100,000 gas stations in the United States, many clustered at the same business intersections, in direct competition with one another, the proprietor hardly has monopoly power to determine prices. Yeah, often, it used to be anyway, that gas stations would get into like a pricing war when they're near each other, but I don't think that happens too much anymore. People are pretty content to charge what they have to charge. Indeed, when Biden says gas stations set prices, he's technically correct in the same that they post the prices on their iconic signs down to the tenth of a cent. They aren't doing it arbitrarily, though. They all know that if they set a price not justified by broader market forces, customers will simply drive down the street to a more reasonably priced station. It's true. There's a gas station here in my area that I think I've only bought gas at once because, hey, there's always a freaking line, even though they have like 12 pumps or something. The gas there is like 1 or 2 cents cheaper than anywhere else. Really? This is what, and there'll be a line out into the street, going down the street. This is probably the biggest gas station I've ever seen as far as amount of space that they have in their parking lot, and they by the pumps. So people want to save just a few pennies on gas. Selling gas usually isn't the most lucrative part of the business either. Like I said, gas stations make a very small margin on fuel, with the cost of crude and refining, along with transport and taxes, accounting for almost all of the price at the pump. Stations earn a much higher margin on their sales of drinks and foodstuffs. Biden would be on more solid ground urging gas stations to cut customers a break on the price of soda and Doritos. Yeah, this is something that I heard about a long time ago, and I spoke with somebody later on who said that he used to manage a gas station, and yeah, they only make a few cents at most on a gallon of gas. And that's why you see most of these gas stations today, they have like a nice air-conditioned mini-mart. That used to be much less common when I was a child. Now they're like pretty much every gas station you go to. There are some that don't. There are some that are. Have you ever been out in like the middle of nowhere in the United States and you stop off at a gas station and they're completely unmanned? There's no building there. It's just like pumps in the middle of nowhere. And they only take credit card because there's nobody there to give you change or anything. It's creepy. It's just like, what am I doing here? Pumping gas at this lone pump in the middle of nowhere. Biden maintains that the stations should reduce gas prices since it's a time of war and global peril. Yeah, that's a good reason. I mean, when hasn't there been war and global peril? Never, really. This appeal might make sense if Biden were browbeating gas stations located in Ukraine or Russia, but the U.S. is not at war. The business owners are under no obligation to sell their product at cost or below because Vladimir Putin is trying to dismember Ukraine. He's trying to take over Ukraine. Counterintuitively, gas stations tend to be more profitable when prices are declining rather than rising. So they are unlikely, simply as a business matter, to be engaged in price conspiracy that Biden alleges. Yeah. Not only that, let's take a look here at war. Is there any time in human history where there were no wars or conflicts on the planet? Right. So like human beings pretty much have always been trying to massively kill other groups of people. That's just what we do. Someone told me that there were only 250 years scattered in history in the last 5,000 years with no wars or armed conflicts known in the planet. Does anyone know if it is possible to have that number verified? I would say that's a high number. 250 years, really? That sounds like that's pretty damn good. We haven't had war or armed conflict happening in that many years out of the last 5,000. I would say it's more like 25 years in the last 5,000 years is what it seems like to me. It seems like there's always some country trying to destroy another country. So you can't use the, hey, it's war excuse is the point. How could you use that excuse if the world's always got war somewhere? Right? Although President Biden considers them worthy of a good kicking, gas stations aren't a growth proposition. The number of stations has markedly declined in recent decades, and the rise of electric cars is putting more pressure on the business model. At least they are actually doing their job in difficult circumstances. The same can't be said for the president. This is so true. Biden, man, the United States is the beacon on the hill that, this is the country. We are the shining castle that everybody wants to get to. And as more and more people come here, the country is declining. Why do you suppose that is? When we become more and more like other parts of the world, we become less and less desirable, become less and less of the quality product that we are thought of as being. There's another article I want to talk about here because we got this right here where, Biden's shameful gas station attack. Okay, let's go over here. Boom. Joe Biden reportedly exports 5 million oil barrels despite U.S. gas prices. Whose fault is it now, Biden? Whose fault is it that we have a gas problem, a gas price problem in this country? Whose fault is that? Yeah, it's the gas station owners. The Biden administration exported more than 5 million barrels of oil from its emergency reserves that were released in order to combat sky-high gas prices here at home. The U.S. sent the oil, which was taken from the Strategic Petroleum Reserve, the SPR, that the Biden administration tapped into in hopes of getting mounting energy prices under control to Asia and Europe. You want to get it under control? Reopen the pipeline that you shut down. You shut down a pipeline, you said fracking wasn't going to happen. Now, I 100% agree that we need to be environmentalist. I am very much on board that global warming is happening. And it's global warming, by the way. If anybody tells you it's climate change, they're lying to you. It's global warming, and it is happening, and it is being driven by human behavior. Just put that out there on the table for you all to know where my stance is. But there has to be a way of providing energy for the people while at the same time not destroying the environment. We have to figure out how to do that. Fracking may be one of those options. I don't know. That's not my area of expertise by any stretch. We got to figure it out. We have to figure it out somehow. If we go say, hey, look, no fracking, period, we're never going to make that industry viable, ever. The release of around 1 million barrels a day from the SPR through October has had a minimal effect in decreasing the prices. Well, yeah, I know. That's not very many. 1 million barrels is not very much. At the same time, it has depleted the reserves to their lowest level since 1986, right? So this is supposed to be an emergency reserve fund of oil that we have in case of emergency, in case we can't get oil. Biden's using it just to lower prices because he wants to have his green energy plan work. Prove that, oh, look, we can be green energy the way that I want it to be, because he doesn't know what he's talking about, because he listens to idiots and he is an idiot. Any man who says that it used to be legal to beat women in Western Europe and we have to change the culture because the rule of thumb was about beating women with a rod that was no bigger than your thumb, that's a person that should not be allowed to hold public office because they are too stupid to be in position of power. It's that simple. Did a video on this. I did a video on this before he was elected. I'll leave a link here. This guy is ruining the country, ruining the world, basically, is what it comes down to. And he thinks the solution is to just take away our reserves of, hey, you know, we have this food set aside just in case there's a disruption in the supply chain, we can't get food. Well, there's no disruption in the supply chain, but food's too expensive. Let's go ahead and eat that emergency food that we had. Then what happens if there's a disruption in the supply chain? What happens if we can't get gas and we don't have any in reserve? We're going to need gas probably for the rest of human existence. It's most likely is going to be less and less gas over time, but still we're going to need gas. And you just want to just take all of our reserves and just use it now. It's fine. Even though we have plenty of other options, we'll just use the reserves now. Brent crude futures were slightly higher on Wednesday. Okay, I'm not worried about that. Fears of a recession pushed oil prices downward in recent weeks, but Americans were still feeling pain at the pump. The nationwide average price of a gallon of regular unleaded was costing American motorists $4.78, or 52% higher than the $3.13 that drivers were paying a year ago. Motorists in California were paying an average of $6.22 per gallon at the pump, the highest in the nation. I don't remember what it is here. It's been a few weeks since I got gas, but yeah, it's too high. While the price of gas has fallen by as much as 15 cents in the last 3 weeks in some states, AAA is warning that the relief is short-lived as Americans gear up for peak driving season in July, which will likely put a further strain on the limited supply. The Biden administration has defended its decision to release oil from the reserves, saying that doing so prevented gas prices from spiking even further. Yeah, probably, but who knows for sure. The SPR remains a critical energy security tool to address global crude oil supply disruptions, a Department of Energy spokesperson told Reuters, adding that the emergency releases helped ensure stable supply of crude oil. Yeah, that's true. I'm sure. Makes sense. U.S. customers' data showed that Phillips 66, which is the fourth largest oil refinery in the country, shipped some 470,000 barrels of sour crude from the Big Hill SPR storage facility in Texas to Trieste, Italy. 470,000 barrels? Now it's sour crude, so it's not stuff we want to use, I guess, but still, Trieste is where oil is loaded into a pipeline that transports it to destinations in Central Europe. The European Union is aiming to replace energy sources that were lost as a result of the Russian invasion of Ukraine. Makes sense. Atlantic Trading and Marketing, an arm of French oil major Total Energies exported 2 cargoes of 560,000 barrels each. The data showed cargoes of SPR crude were also headed to the Netherlands and to a Reliance refinery in India. An industry source said the third cargo headed to China, another source said. At least the cargo of crude from the West Hackberry SPR site in Louisiana was set to be exported in July, a shipping source added. U.S. crude inventories are the lowest since 2004 as refineries run near peak levels. Refineries in the U.S. Gulf Coast were at 97.9% utilization, the most in 3.5 years. Look, I feel for the people in Europe who are going through this, but it's, and I don't mind helping them out, but we need to take care of ourselves first. We need to make sure that we're okay here in the United States before we go giving to all these other countries. And I've said this before, we need to make sure the United States is fine and on sound footing and level playing field. And then if we have extra stuff left over, we go and we help these other countries. That's how you do it. But what do I know? I see some people said down here, this is the price of a coalition, a smaller issue compared to the energy crisis he actually created when he declared war on the oil industry the day he took office. Keep those gas prices high in the U.S. and they'll have no choice but to buy electric cars. Clueless Biden and his advisors. Vote them out before the country collapses. Fossil fuels are still needed to produce the electric from the electric car for the electric cars. Not necessarily. EXXNJ, that's not necessarily true. We don't necessarily need to have fossil fuels to create electricity. We can do it with dams. We can do it with solar. We can do it with geothermal. We can do it with tidal energy. There's all sorts of other options. But the thing is we can't buy electric cars. We can do this. Let's see here. Let's buy a Tesla. Here's Tesla Model Y. Order now. $57,000. Model Y for performance, $61,000. I got that in my back pocket. It's Model S. Order now. $95,840. Oh, damn. Model S Plaid, whatever the Plaid means, I don't know. $126,840. Yeah. That's inexpensive. I can afford that. Let's start on the Model 3 here. Model 3. Order now. The Model 3 is $39,000. This is the least expensive one. We can get one for $39,640. Of course, you'd make payments on that, so maybe that might be doable. The long range Model 3, which is probably what you would need, is $50,640, and the Model 3 Performance is $55,640. So you're not going to be getting a Tesla most likely. Just saying, it's not like something you can just go and get. Order now for the Model X, $111,000 or $129,000 if you get the Plaid. The Model Y, okay, so we looked at all these. So these are not inexpensive cars, and I don't want to support Elon Musk anyway because I think he's, I don't know, he's not playing with a full deck. I'm sure he's a nice fella for the most part, but although there's been a lot of shenanigans going on around his company and stuff, not supporting people who are not white. And I mean, he does come from a country where there's a lot of friction between whites and blacks. But he has these ideas that he has, these engineering ideas. He's like science fiction. He thinks that science fiction can become reality, and in most cases it can't. That's why it's science fiction. He just doesn't know what he's talking about. I mean, he was fired from PayPal for incompetence, right? People think that he's like some super genius. He's amazing. I've seen his IQ rated at 155. Like, yeah, he can make a buck. He knows how to make a buck. He figured that out. But he doesn't know engineering. He doesn't understand reality. The ideas that he comes up with is like, no, that's impossible. You can't do that. That's not how it works. Given our current technology level, you can't do that, etc. There's so many problems with what he says. But he's getting money off that stuff. People buy it. People believe it. So he's I don't know if he believes it too, but if he does, then I think he's probably halfway decent fella. But if he doesn't believe that stuff and he's just scamming people out of their money, okay, then you need to stop giving Elon Musk money. And besides which, electric cars are not the answer. Now, you don't have to buy a Tesla. There's probably less expensive electric cars you can get. My coworker, he bought one, and it's not a Tesla. It's like a Mercedes or something. But I'm sure it was used, and I'm sure it was really inexpensive. But if we look here, Texas power grid struggling to meet energy demands amid extreme heat wave. You'll be able to charge your electric car there. How about California? California's power grid operator has issued a statewide alert urging residents to cut back electricity use. That's from CNN, the church of woke. So electric cars at current rate are not the answer, especially if we're going to use fossil fuels to produce the electricity for them, which we do use a lot of fossil fuels to produce electricity, even though I said we use dams and et cetera, all that other stuff. The problem is there are too many people coming to the United States. This is a woke position to let just anybody come here. We can't allow people to come to the United States anymore. We should have been done 40 years ago, honestly. Should have said, no, we got enough. That's it. And that would, I mean, I'm shooting myself in the foot when I say that because my wife is an immigrant. She's the best woman I've ever known. If I were to get with an American woman, she'd probably have divorced me and taken all of my stuff by now. Not that I have anything for her to take, but my life probably would not be as nice as it is today had I married an American woman. I'd probably still be single, honestly, because I was not finding women who are quality to spend time with. And whoever comes in next, please, whatever person is elected next to be president, stop immigration, stop it all, shut the damn border down, build a wall. That's the solution. And then we wouldn't have these energy problems. But when you have 330 million people in a space that is too small for them, I like wide open spaces. So I'm here. I've been through Montana. I've been through some of these places that are like there's nobody around for hundreds of miles. I've been there. I know. There's lots of space in the United States, but I like my wide open spaces. And there's just too many people though that want to partake of the castle on the hill. They want that shining beacon. They want, and I get it. Look, you don't want to be where you are because it's terrible. And if you can go to a place where, hey, it's much better and I can earn some money, and then I can go back to where I am and live like a king, I get it. I understand, and I feel for you. I do. But unfortunately, we see the country falling apart. We see the rise of the BRIC nations. Why is it there's nations in the world that can challenge the cost of living, the standard of living in the United States? The only explanation is the United States is falling because these countries aren't really getting better. We've given them the example of how to get better, how to be good, how to be prosperous for 100 plus years. They won't do it. These countries will not do it. They want to live on their tradition. Okay, fine. Then your people are going to be poor and they're going to suffer. Unfortunate, but that's how it is. I don't know what to tell you other than that. Thank you for watching. Please remember to like, comment, share, subscribe. Be sure to vote in people who have your best interest, your community's interest at heart in the primaries, in any voting that you do. And be sure to vote out Joe Biden in a couple of years here, and push your state representatives to impeach Biden, get him removed from office, get him imprisoned for his crimes against humanity. I'll see you in the next video.